And IB education is all about making learners curious about what they're going to learn and providing that learning environment to questions. And we don't provide answers as a teacher. We provide learning environment where they can empathize with their situation and come up with answers. So basically, why I would like to encourage other schools to go with IB education if they really want their learners to be a problem solver, future leader, global citizen, the words we talk about in IB education. That is only possible when they know how to take ownership of their learning. And that is not possible in a traditional approach, what we have been doing, what the way we have learned.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to IB Matters. And I have a first-time guest from Nepal. Maksud Alam is here to speak about his experiences with IB and starting an IB program in his home country of Nepal. And I'm excited for that. I have noticed over the past few years that we do have listeners in Nepal. So I'm glad that you're the first person. It's a great honor to have you, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Why don't you go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we'll get into kind of your IB journey.
Okay, so it's me, Maksud Alam. So I'm 32 right now. I grew up in Kathmandu, Nepal, but my parents are from India, basically from Delhi.
Okay.
So both the Kathmandu and Nepal and India both are my home, but I prefer staying in Nepal. That's how I have been done my education. I have done my MA in sociology, and recently I completed PGCI from Liverpool John Moore University. So it was all about more exploring learning in the sector of education. So that's a short introduction about who I am.
Well, that's neat. So you have folks have an Indian background, but you're in
Right.
you grew up in Kathmandu, and which is and so
Yeah,
for those of
definitely.
us that in the Western world, and I'm located in central part of the United States in Minnesota. This seems like a very cool and exotic place to us because we think of the Himalayas. And so tell us a little bit about just for that
Right.
interest. Tell us a little bit about what you see when you look outside or in your area.
So it's a beautiful country. By the way, the Kathmandu is the capital city of Nepal, and it's
Yeah.
a valley surrounded by beautiful hills. And the weather is always like perfect, not so hot, not so cold. And right now we're having monsoon. But if you see around, if the weather is clear, you can see the Himalayan range, all the Himalayan range, most of them. But if you go up to Kathmandu, there are like a lot of places, beautiful natural views, mountain range, national parks. So like mostly the track for the mountains, like for the trekking, those all go through Pokhara, the city that is 200 kilometers away from Kathmandu.
Okay.
But Kathmandu itself known as the city of temples because once Nepal was a Hindu kingdom. It's a secular state right now. So everywhere, wherever you go, you see a lot of historical places, a lot of historical houses still made in a architecture which was done like almost 200 years back. A lot of temples, and that's how. And it's crowded. Like it's the only city that which has most of the I think facilities like education, all the things. So even the people from different city, different villages, they move into Kathmandu in order to pursue the higher education, in order to get all those facility that is available in the city.
Yeah, I mean, thanks for that little quick tour. But I think that's one of the interesting things is that in each area of the world, there are different centers for education,
Yeah.
and I'm guessing you're a bit of a cultural mix then too, because you're kind of in a crossroads of many different cultures there.
Right. So I mostly they speak Nepali. Those it's a common language, official language for Nepal. But there are people like they speak their own language, and Kathmandu is known for the Newari people.
Hmm.
They are the real people, the inhabitant of the Kathmandu. So they speak Newar, and they follow the culture of Newari culture. So I'm sure you must have heard about goddess Kumari, right?
Yes.
Living goddess in Nepal. Yeah. So that's what is in Kathmandu. So the goddess Kumari is made within the Kathmandu from the people of Newar society.
Interesting. So
Yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of part of it too. And it sounds, getting it to the context of the IB, it's a great place. It sounds like for students to kind of realize that there's multiple perspectives and ways to look at the world and to kind
Exactly.
of understand their surroundings. Plus, what a rich
Exactly.
environment to grow up in terms of just the natural world, and then to have the cultural diversity to kind of build understanding.
Exactly, exactly, you're right.
So let's talk a little bit about the school you work in and what your role is there and what you're doing.
Currently I'm working at Swostishree Gurukul. It was established like 6 years back during the pandemic time in 2018. So that was the first year they established their earliest branch,
Yeah.
and second year in 2019 they applied for PYP Prime Minister's program within the second year. I joined at a school as a PYP coordinator initially.
Okay.
So I laid the authorization for PYP Prime Minister's program. We got authorized within a year within the pandemic time. And later on, I was asked to lead MYP as well because the school was established with the vision of being IB Continental School to offer all three programs. I was promoted as an IB head. So IB head, basically someone who's going to lead all the programs of the schools of IB programs. So I laid authorization for MYP too. Then we got authorized for MYP like last year, 2024 in
Okay.
June. And recently, we also got authorized for DP. So complete now, right now, we're complete IB Continental School.
Okay.
So we are the second IB Continental School and second MYP authorized school in the whole country.
Yeah, so you didn't have to wait for those students to age up to the group. You must have had the school has already had the students at those older ages, and you could add the diploma program
Right,
right
right.
away. Okay. Yeah, sometimes the
Yeah,
model is to kind of to grow with the students, and so the first graders, when they are, fifth or sixth graders, you go MYP, and then you wait till they get to high school. So
right.
tell us how big is your school?
We currently, the capacity is 700 students in our main building.
Okay.
We have like separate building for the DP and for the PYP and YP, and we do have high school that follows national curriculum. In Nepal, we have to follow national curriculum in order to fulfill the national requirements. So it's
Yeah.
basically what we do. We follow IB, PYP, and Y framework, but DP is more of curriculum. So we provide both option, national curriculum as well as DP curriculum, DP board. That's how we have been running. Currently, we are running on almost around 500 students from K1 to all the way to high school.
That's a good size school. Very good size. So you're saying that the students, when they get to high school, they choose one or the other, the DP or the national curriculum?
Yeah, but in our case, like they study in IB, PYP, and YP. So most of the parents they are more interested in DP because they enjoy that way of teaching and learning.
Yeah.
So, but still, we provide the option for those who want to stay back in Nepal.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, it sounds like you have so you're offering some choices, but as our listeners can relate to, once the parents and students have been growing up in the IB pedagogy, they get the idea that that's a good
Right.
thing to follow up on. Yeah, that's good.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
so you were hired initially as a PYP coordinator. Did you have previous
Right.
experience or did you kind of learn on the job as you were doing that?
Before that, I worked in a Nepal first IB school, but I was not a coordinator, but I was more of teacher. I worked in PYP as well as in MYP. So that was the first school to offer PYP and MYP both. So that was, I think, I was privileged enough to have that experience
Yeah.
in that school. So I worked there for almost 5 years, and that helped me to become uh, an IB educator, the pedagogy, the process of learning, the philosophy of IB. So it helped me to become an IB leader, and I was able when I shifted from that school to my current school, which was a newly established school. It helped me to apply whatever I have learned as a coordinator. So first as an IB leader, it was expense for me to lead authorization because everything was new. But after that, it was like you already know what to do. You just go with the flow.
Hmm.
And if you're so IB is all about like being open-minded. If
Yeah.
you have learning mindset up and you have a lot of collaboration, so it's not a big deal. When we started as IB teacher, it was difficult because
Yeah.
it was only first school, so there was no collaboration within the country,
Yeah.
and at that time the resources was limited. But right now there are altogether I think seven authorized school in Kathmandu. It's growing, and there are many
Yeah.
IB candidate schools. So IB is becoming more, I'll say, famous in terms of education, and parents are liking for their child.
Yeah, I know in different pockets of the world, it's unknown in some cases entirely. In other cases, it's go-to one. So, do you have an association going now for Nepalese schools that are IB? Are you kind of meeting together and collaborating as a group on a regular basis?
Not yet, not yet. That's a very good thing to do, and that's what IB encourages us
Yeah.
to collaborate and to have a collaboration among the school. But I think it will come gradually, but not really. Not we have really not started, but we'd like to collaborate and share whatever we have learned, and that's how we're going to grow each together.
I don't know if you're familiar, but that's basically my job. I'm the state of Minnesota in the U.S. We have 65 IB schools, and I'm the
That's
director of
great.
that association, that IB encourages us to
That's
have.
great.
And the IB does provide a lot of support for us. It's been really a great experience, and mostly what I do is organize those collaborations. So right now we're organizing, fall meetings for the diploma teachers, so that the science teachers get together, the physics teachers and biology
That's great.
teachers and our history teachers get together. So those kind of things, I'm sure that will grow. And sometimes it's organic. Maybe it just takes you. You just you just go ahead, call up your
Yeah,
friends at
right,
your other school and say, hey,
right.
can we get some PYP teachers together? We'd love to kind of talk about your POIs and things like that. So now I love the fact that you were a teacher for 5 years, and that's also very relatable. People that a lot of people I know, they were coordinator or they were teachers before they were coordinators, and I think that's a great thing to have in your toolbox, because when you start talking to new teachers, you have that experience, and you also kind of know the struggles as they kind of shift from a traditional type of
Exactly.
education that they grew up in
And
to the IB way of, the framework is different. And it's good that you can kind of pass that on, I'm sure.
true. It helped me a lot because the things we implement in IB is better you practice as a classroom teacher. Then only you can be a good leader in IB. So IB leadership is all about teamwork, reflection of whatever you practice.
It's good. And I love the fact, your school is new, and that's easier too. I think when you jump in as a new school with the intention of being IB from the beginning, then you don't have to relearn and redo things that you used to do. Now
Exactly.
it's just this is the practice, and any teacher that's hired
Yeah.
knows the deal. They come in knowing that this is what they're signing up for. So I'm guessing you probably have a pretty good recruitment process if, teachers kind of know what IB is about. Do you find yourself, being able to pick from a really good group of teachers?
So I think that is one of the challenge in Nepal. So I told you when we started, still we are the only second school in terms of MYP. So there is only two school in basically
Yeah.
Nepal implementing MYP. There are like seven school out of seven school, six are PYP, and three of them are like DP authorized. So problem is it's very difficult to get teachers, especially teachers who can teach into IB education, IB
Yeah.
philosophy pedagogy. So basically what we do is we hire teachers with a good qualification in education and someone who's already into progressive education. Like there are some school IPC school that they follow international primary curriculum. There are some progressive school. They are more into progressive teaching because in Nepal they are following traditional approach. It's one of the challenges that still we are facing. But what we do is IB is all about learning. So you hire teachers, you do a lot of PDs, professional development,
Yeah.
in-house, international, and that's how we build our team.
How do you talk about it when you talk to parents that are considering your school?
Now, now most of the parents are educated, and in context of Nepal, whenever they wanted their child to be educated in a good education system, either they used to choose Indian school, they used to send their children to India,
Hmm.
nearest country, for the quality education, or they used to send up their children to abroad. But now what happens, why not providing that quality education within our own country? And that's how, so when we start, like my current school, when the founder they started, the vision was very clear to provide world-class education within the country.
Hmm.
And I think there is nothing better than IB education. So there was only one school offering PYP, MYP, and that is not enough for meeting the demands of the children. They want to study in IB education.
Yeah.
So the school, the founder, they invested everything. We started the infrastructure, the human resources, everything was prepared within the first year. So basically, we're running up to grade 10 from the first year. Being candidate school for the PYP, and gradually we had a plan to move from PYP to MYP, MYP to TP, and luckily, with the vision and the teamwork and the support from the management, we were able to achieve that.
So, when you talk about it with the parents, like you said, a lot of your parents are already educated to what you're doing. Do you have a kind of a onboarding or any kind of like orientation for new parents and teachers, community members to kind of help them understand, the goals of your program?
Basically, it's very important to educate parents because IB education is very new to them. Most of them not even aware of what is IB education. They know IB school, but they don't know the in depth what is the pedagogy, the what is the philosophy, how the teaching is learning, how the approaches, what is the approaches of teaching, what is the approaches learning, what
Yeah,
is the ATL skill learner profile. Those are very vague thing for them to understand. So what we do, what we have done is like we during the admission procedure. So I was the one to look after the orientation of new parents when they want to know what is actually IB education. So I used to explain them what is IB education, how they're going to learn. And basically what I used to do is I used to take them into the classroom so they can see what actually is inquiry based teaching and learning.
yeah,
So that's the beauty they used to see, and they used to like, ah, this is the education I'm looking for my child, where my learners can my child can get that ownership of learning. It's not about rote learning, it's not about memorization, but to explore in a real world where they can connect whatever they're learning in the real life, solving problems, taking actions, being skillful, being good human beings. So that's what they want. So it's very difficult initially, but gradually what we did is like we used to do a lot of workshops for the parents in terms of philosophy, in terms of pedagogy, in terms of approaches of teaching, in terms of the school policies, in terms of how they learn. So we did a lot of work. Especially challenges we face is like in MYP compared to PYP. PYP they enjoy the even parents, but MYP the problem is like mindset of the parents, like they're still into grading
yeah,
marks. So that was the approach in our country, still that is same the approach.
yeah,
So basically shifting from that approach to criterion based assessment.
yeah,
Assessment is something is still not only parents, even teachers, they take time to understand.
yeah, yeah,
So that's how we have been like especially I have been working with parents, connecting them with the how we do assessment, how we do unit of inquiry, how the teaching learning goes in the classroom. So we continuously working on that. And I'll say like in first 3 years we struggle, but I think recently I can confidently say that 80% of the parents are well aware of what is happening at school
hmm.
and they love it.
One of the joys of having done this podcast now for 6, 7 years, when I speak to people, no matter where in the world they are, I hear the same language, of course, because it's IB, but also the same struggles. I can totally
Exactly.
empathize with the MYP struggle because MYP, I've said on this podcast before, I think is the central DNA, the way in which MYP
Exactly.
is put together explains kind of the whole way that IB kind of works, but it's also probably the most difficult to do with fidelity because it's that different kind of assessment, the ability to really help a student understand where they stand in terms of those criteria.
Yeah.
And I think for me, one of the great improvements that it makes on assessment is that it also shows you what you need to do next.
Exactly.
I've told the story before about being a high school chemistry teacher and physics teacher and grading on percentages, and having a
Yeah.
student go, he has 89.8%. And I'd do the math because I was, a young teacher. And I was like,
Right.
hey, if you only got two more points, you'd have an A minus. And it doesn't tell
A
them
minus,
anything,
right?
it doesn't tell them what they know and what they
Yeah.
can do. And so that
Exactly.
the criterion referencing and the criterion related assessments that totally changes the game. I mean, now I can show you, here's the next thing you need, not 2 points. If you just can describe this better, or if you can bring in another resource to show me, what you know, now I can say, yeah, you can do, you're now a 6 instead of a 5 or whatever the number you're using.
Right.
So those are the things that to me are so much more useful about it, but it is universal. I think in my experience, the MYP takes the most time to kind of understand, and once you do, it's it's wonderful, but it is difficult to kind of get that across.
And basically, why it is difficult in our context, like we need to abide by our national requirements.
Yep.
So what we do is like integrate MYP framework with our national curriculum. So we ensure that we cover the national requirements of content because
Yep.
which is more content focused. So at the same time, we also make sure that it's more of inquiry based, assessment based, deeper learning. So that is very complicated. And at the same time, they have to get prepared for the national examination, grade
Yep.
10. So that is also we need to keep in mind. So they are learning that traditional based examination, so they don't struggle there. So
Yeah.
that has been a very challenging part. And that's why most of the schools in Nepal, they don't want to go for MYP. That's why we
Hmm.
only have two right now.
Oh yeah, totally. I mean, and that gets laid on the teachers often. If you have a good coordinator like yourself, I'm sure you're helping facilitate that. But a lot of times the teachers are like, well, but I still have to do this. The state requirements are this.
Exactly,
And how do
exactly.
you're going
Yeah,
to make me do all that work of, finding a way to make an inquiry-based result there. So
yeah,
yeah, it's totally understandable, but it does take time, and I think it's worth the effort. But I understand that. Again, so relatable, to hear you talk about this.
yeah, right.
So when you're thinking about, like, if you were trying to get another school in Nepal to add on the IB, what are the key benefits you feel like you're getting, your students are getting, that you would encourage other schools in Kathmandu and other areas nearby to participate in?
Yeah, I think we really need to change the education system in our Nepal, in our country, because I grew up over here. I studied over here. So when I was a student, I used to really think like this education system is not going to cater the children who is imaginative, someone who is creative. So
Hmm.
basically, this traditional approach is killing that imagination, the creative, the curiosity. And IB education is all about making learners curious about what they're going to learn and
Hmm.
providing that learning environment to questions. And we don't provide answers as a teacher. We provide learning environment where they can empathize with their situation and come up with answers. So basically, why I would like to encourage other schools to go with IB education if they really want their learners to be a problem solver, future leader, global citizen, the words we talk about in IB education. That is only possible when they know how to take ownership of their learning. And that is not possible in a traditional approach, what we have been doing, what the way we have learned. So basically, I'll encourage them to, yes, go with it, provide that opportunity in order to make them a critical thinker, a good human being. That is something very important. So these are the things which makes IB education unique, and that is something learners enjoy. Because me myself, when I was students, I used to struggle a lot because teachers wanted me, or they all wanted me to get prepared for exams, but they never thought of how I'm going to learn, what is my needs. There is inclusive education now, people talk about. At that time there was no inclusion something.
Yeah.
So IB is not only about inquiry based, but it's also making inclusivity of learners and providing the learners as per their needs. So I think that's the important thing that IB education cater. So I think that is something most of the schools. And the good thing is like it's growing. There are, I think, around more 8 to 7 candidate school already, and maybe in next 10 years, there'll be like around maybe 20 to 25 schools, IB schools, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, just hearing you talk about that, it's personal for you. I mean, I've been, as you've been talking, and you're a young man.
Yeah.
uh, you somehow were inspired to look at things differently.
Yeah, right.
Even though you were taught in a traditional way, you realized as you were being taught that there were other ways, and you have kind of continued that in your career, and commend you for that. So, do you have advice for other, new teachers, or people that are thinking about doing an IB, becoming IB educators? How do they kind of follow your path in terms of getting a new way of doing things compared to the way they were taught?
I think first thing I'll say all of them is like first of all, be passionate about what you're doing. If you're a passionate educator, I think it will be easier for you to start up to learn about IB education because it's all about learning mindset, open-minded learner profile. Even if you have taught 20 years, forget it. Get ready to adapt into the IB philosophy, pedagogy, and become a learners because we
Yeah.
all are learning. Even we are learning. I still have, it's my 10th year, and I never say that I'm expert of that IB education. I know everything in IB because IB itself enhance every 5 years. There is a
Hmm.
change as per the need. So that is the thing. Be passionate, open-minded, don't give up, do a lot of collaboration because that's the beauty of IB education. If you think that you're going to learn standing in alone, not collaborating with teamwork, no, it's not going to help you. And don't have ego of what you already know. Leave
Yeah.
your ego aside and be like, I don't know anything. I just need to learn.
Yeah.
So that is a very common suggestion. And have patience. Patience is very important in IB education because it's completely different from traditional approach. So you need to have a lot of patience and some time investment also because even though as a school leader we provide a lot of training, we provide a lot of resources, but as a teacher, if you want to grow up as an IB teacher, you need to invest a lot of time because there are a lot of resources and luckily there are a lot of groups. As you said, you have your association, you bring all the teachers together to do collaboration. So
Yeah.
that is they need to do. So learn from each other, sharing, and that's how they grow. So these are
Yeah.
the things are very important for all the new teachers.
Wow. Very, very well said. I don't think I've ever heard anyone say it
Yeah.
so well. That was really, really well
Thank
done.
you very much.
That is cool. Um, yeah, I got chills when you were talking about that. Be passionate and, just be, I love that when you said, leave your ego out of the picture because
Exactly.
there's so much of that. I mean, it's just natural. It's human nature. It's the same everywhere.
Human nature, right?
People just want to, but what I know is important and what I've done before was important. You telling me this isn't okay anymore? It's like, let's just listen, be open-minded and then let's hear what you think and you can put it together.
Exactly.
Is there anything else that you want to kind of share about your story when you reached out to me, and I encourage others that are listening to use the links in our podcast to connect with me and get your story out there because this is a wonderful one. You're the first person in Nepal to do this. We've got a lot
Thank
more
you.
countries
My
to
pleasure.
cover. Yeah, believe it or not,
Yeah,
we've had 178 different countries people have heard us. And so there's
exactly.
there's there's probably 150 more that I haven't heard from. So if you're listening,
Right.
but anything else that you want to share before we sign off, Maksud?
I think in my last 10 years of experience, what I think is like if you really want to become an IB educated, I think you have that scope because it is internationally recognized. The thing is like as I said, like if you want to become an IB educator, you have to work on those things. Think in terms professionally if you want to grow as a professional and to work as an international teacher because IB being implemented in 160 countries
Hmm.
around 6,000 authorized school as per
Yeah,
recent data.
that's right.
So I think I really want teachers to think in that perspective too. There was a time we used to say there is no scope in teaching, but it's not about that. If you are good enough, if you're passionate about something you want to do and you want to bring changes, then even in field of education you can make changes. So just go with it and work hard for that.
Well, Maksud, I want to thank you for, first of all, for reaching out in the first place and for the persistence
My
and making
pleasure.
sure we
Thank you,
could,
Guru.
yeah, making sure that we could find a time to get together. I know it's sometimes difficult when we're literally around the globe from each other, but it's just so enjoyable to hear from you as it is with, all my conversations with people around the world. I love the fact that our IB community is so broad and is such a big, wide open. I'm always amazed that the same framework works in all the countries that it does, as you said, 160
Right, right.
countries. So again, thank you so much for your time today,
My
and
pleasure.
good luck to you and growing your school and also growing the role of IB in Nepal.
So, if there is any educator around any part of the world, if there is anything they want to ask or they want to collaborate, learn, I'm very free. I really want to do that, so they can always reach out to me. Thank you very much for your time and giving me opportunity to be in your podcast.
You bet. Well, thanks again. Thanks for listening. Please check out the podcast notes for links provided by Maksud to connect with him. We now have over 130 IB Matters episodes covering a wide range of subjects. To help you find topics of interest to you, use our podcast webpage linked in the notes. There's also a link in those notes to directly text us with comments, suggestions, or to let me know that you would like to appear on a future episode of IB Matters. Find all of our episodes wherever you get your podcasts and hit subscribe so you don't miss any future programs. Join our over 4,000 followers on X at MattersIB. Also help spread the word about IB by liking, sharing, and reviewing the IB Matters links in your own feeds and social networks. Now in our 7th year, we've been heard in almost 180 countries, a testament to the global reach of the IB.